Welcome to your Fantasy Fulfilled, right here on SheSPN The Network. I'm your host, LaTasha Miles, aka Joan, Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, back with you again like Colin Kaepernick, returning to the starting lineup for week number 6. And HOMECOMING, it's homecoming, y'all. It's homecoming, y'all. That's right. Shout outs to my alma mater, the Winston-Salem State University. I graduated with magna cum laude honors, by the way. Congratulations on another successful homecoming as we were victorious against St. Augustine. See, that's why I'm donning my university colors for you all today. The mighty red and black. Indeed, and I am so very proud to be a rambunctious, raging Ram. Now, of course, I hit the campus, enjoyed the game, and got myself a fish sandwich. A fish sandwich. SAMMICH. Now, I know it seems like I'm having a little bit of a spelling bee on here today. Shoot, just call me Akila. Now, shout outs to the beautiful and talented Kiki Palmer, by the way, all right? Nonetheless, this is important that you know the accurate way to spell sandwich. No doubt. And again, I enjoyed myself. Good to see my fellow Rams, everyone looking and doing good. And that's especially the case for two of my fellow Rams, two that you may know of and be very familiar with. The critically acclaimed, award-winning sports journalist, ESPN's own Stephen A. Smith, who I've actually had the pleasure of working with a couple of times. I've interviewed him as well, and he just had an amazing appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live a few days ago. No doubt. So, Stephen A., you need to call me, by the way. And another one of my fellow Rams, who's also a Taurus like me, and a Ram of a different breed in addition to being a Winston-Salem State Ram. But that's William Hayes, defensive end. Of course, you might be familiar with him as well. And I've also had the distinct honor and pleasure of working with him. Conducted 3 interviews with him and won my first of 3 sports writing awards off of a story based on one of my features on him. So shout outs to you guys and thanks again for your help. I hope to work with the both of you again soon and join the upper echelon and cross over like you guys have successfully done so, and be able to work with the NFL as well one day very soon. And hey, perhaps I'm on my way, because immediately after my homecoming shenanigans, I had to get up here to Washington, D.C., as I will be on Good Morning Washington tomorrow morning, sometime between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that will be a live appearance discussing tips from my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, the ultimate survival guide for relationships and households during football season. Available now on Amazon and CreateSpace.com. So if you would please go out and get your copies, and I thank you in advance for your support. And I'll also be discussing my SheSPN, Joan, Madden, the Gridiron Goddess, and WTF2, where women talk football 2 brands. And also, I'll be featured on a segment called The Redskins Den, which I'm very excited about. And I'll be recapping the Eagles and Redskins divisional game. Look at God. Hallelujah, Father God, and I thank you. No doubt. So if you're in the DMV area, of course, again, that's Washington, D.C., Maryland, and the Virginia area, be sure you check me out again between 9 and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that will be live. Thanks again in advance. And to Stephen A. and William Hayes, I'm going to get my reunion with you guys soon, so definitely be on the lookout. Oh, and y'all need to get my book too, as I gave you some great shout outs. Now that I got all of my repping out the way, back to fantasy football talk, as my advice to you today will lead to a W repping in your win column. All right, no doubt. So getting started with your automatics, your most favorable matchups, and I'm not even going to start this week with a particular player on this one. No. I'm going to start with a few players from one team. And that's the Pittsburgh Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. Now, Big Ben has been putting up big numbers. Antonio Brown has been taking his questionable choreography to the end zone. And ever since the juice has been loose, Le'Veon Bell has been ringing with sounds of triumph. And I expect much of the same thing to happen this week as they go against Miami. Now, I do think that Ben will face some pressure from Cameron Wake, Mario Williams, and Namakim Sue, and that there will be some defensive struggle for Pittsburgh in this one, as they have to be careful not to succumb to this as a trap game with New England on the horizon on the docket next Sunday at Heinz Field. So they can't get too comfortable, and although it's possible, I really don't think that they will. Besides, according to a news report from @Black Adam Schefter, within the past few days, the Dolphins have actually been making some adjustments by repainting their end zone and having it serve as a welcome mat for Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Now, another team that I expect to have a few players to do well is the Saints, as they host the Carolina Panthers in another huge divisional game. More specifically, Drew Brees, who is coming off of a bye week and known to air the ball out. Coby Fleener's productivity should come into development this week, and Mike Thomas has emerged, kind of taking on the role that Colston previously had during his time with the Saints, and he's becoming more of a goal line target too. Now look, the over-under for this game is 53 points, and I'm quite sure that with their divisional history, the aerial attack resume from Brees played a part in this. Devastating loss that the Panthers secondary has experienced during the offseason also plays a role in this. Now, this is beyond Josh Norman at this point in time for the Panthers. The reigning NFC champs also lost Charles Peanut Tillman to retirement. Roman Harper has returned to the Saints, and the feisty Cortland Finnegan didn't return, and they just released Ben Wickery earlier this month. So yeah, that convoy of Saints that I previously mentioned, roll with them, and also look at Willie Snead and perhaps Brandon Cooks as well. Also, look to a player who wants some revenge against his former coach, a marriage that ended bitterly. And I'm speaking of LaShawn McCoy, as he faces Chip Kelly and the 49ers. Shady is my third boot after Des Bryant and Antonio Gates, and he's already on track of showing vast improvement from last season, upping his yards per game average from 74.6 to 89.5, and it might be hard to believe because of his unimpressive ending last season and his stagnant start for the 2016 season, but he currently ranks in 4th place in rushing yards through 5 games with 447 yards. Also, the Bills have won 3 straight games, and as a whole, their rushing unit averages 137.2 yards a game, and San Francisco ranks 31st in run defense, surrendering a whopping 147 yards per game. Yikes. Now, McCoy is certainly going to gash through and take advantage of this San Francisco treat as they host the 49ers this afternoon. Another guy I'm looking at to have a breakout game and a surprise here is Doug Baldwin. And the fact that I referred to him as a surprise, I could have slid him into the sleepers category, but I'm sure many of you already have your claws on this Seahawk. Now, the problem hasn't been production, it's been opportunities. Russell Wilson, of course, has been hobbling his way through games with that ankle injury, and the offense has been suffering as a result. But their bye last week came at an opportune time for Wilson to heal, and they returned to the gridiron with a home game against the Falcons. So we'll call this the Poultry Bowl here, all right? Now, taking PPR leagues out of the equation, points per reception that is, Baldwin has accrued single-digit points in 2 games each with 6 targets or less. In the couple of games where he has 10 targets or more, he's increased those outings 5 times more. So Wilson just has to get the ball to him, and with this promising matchup, I mean, Russell, you gotta take advantage of this. You weren't really a guy known for your dance moves, but I saw you on Nickelodeon's Kid Choice Awards with your beautiful new bride, Sierra. You knew how to get it and learn to 1-2 steps. So get the ball to Baldwin and learn the fact that he is destructive when you grant him the chance to do so. Atlanta has allowed 3 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers in 4 consecutive games. I'm talking casino card games numbers here. Yeah, I said 21. And the way that Atlanta's offense is also playing, this could turn into a shootout. And the Hawks, well, they will need some points to keep up. And Baldwin should be a heavy candidate to reap some of those scoring benefits. Now, for my favorite part of the show, hey, you need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't let these waiver wire studs pass you by. You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't sleep since their stock is not high. All right, as I remix Outcast and Goody Mob right there with the sleepers edition of this episode. All right, no doubt. So go after Cameron Meredith, wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Now, Brian Hoyer is improving weekly, continuing to build chemistry, and he's doing some of that with Meredith. As a matter of fact, he was targeted a dozen times last week and caught 10 of those passes. And with Chicago having 6 more home games, and Meredith is an Illinois State product, so he is very familiar with those conditions that come with the end of the year temperatures in Illinois. I mean, after all, his college is only about 2.5 hours away from Chicago, so he should work for you down the stretch as well. He's also a perfect complement to Alshon Jeffrey since he's a possession receiver, and Meredith recently snatched the starting job from Eddie Royal. So yeah, that part. Now for my deeper sleepers, I actually like Colin Kaepernick. Now not necessarily this game against Buffalo, but bye weeks are here and he might be a good addition for weeks that your main quarterback is on a bye. Honestly, Cap is a great fit for the type of Oregon offense that Chip Kelly has been trying to run in the NFL now in his 4th season in the professional league. And like much of his time in Philly, the 49ers are now ranked number 1 in getting rid of the ball the quickest. Look, Cap has faced depth threats and has handled those with ease. So upcoming matchups and winnable games against the Bucks, the Saints, the Dolphins, the Bears, and the Jets, he can handle their defenses as well. Also check into Justin Forsett as he just joined the Detroit Lions recently. Now the Lions, well, their tailback, formerly known as their starter, Abdullah, he's suffering with a foot injury, and the rookie Dwayne Washington is still in a constant battle with his ankle. They prefer to utilize Theo Riddick as a scat back, kind of like a Darren Sproles role. So pass catching is his specialty. So the 25 to 30 carries a game, nah, that's more up Forsett's alley. Now, Zach Zenner, well, he hasn't made much noise since preseason. So, again, Justin Forsett is someone that you'll want to snatch for your sleeper picks. Now, as for your bench warmers this week, you know, your water boys, do not, I repeat, do not start Deshaun Jackson against the Eagles. And I have the audacity to say that here in D.C. But now, I know that he is a speedy receiver. I know that he's talented, and he always seeks revenge against his former co-NFC East opponent. But he's owned in only about 85% of the fantasy leagues. And here's why. During his first few weeks of this season, D-Jax has caught more than 5 passes in only 1 game. As a matter of fact, he's only been targeted 5 to 6 times per game, and he nets only 15.5 yards per reception, and he hasn't had that bad of an outing since his rookie campaign. Plus, he's going against a Philly defense who is ranked in the top 5 in pass defense. They've only given up more than 70 yards to Antonio Brown and Alshon Jeffrey, and they are looking to rebound from their first loss of the season up in Detroit last week. So I expect Jackson to be playing on a level kind of like Big Tigger from back in the Rap City days, you know, from the basement. Ha, see what I did there? Also, don't start LeGarrette Blount this week, and this has nothing to do with his opponent facing off against the Bengals, whose run defense should rebound after being gashed by the Cowboys last week. But this is actually a civil war for Blount. You know, the garb that the mascots dress up in, you know, the Patriots. Yeah, Blount is going to war with his very own and can definitely swap his football uniform for the uniform that the mascot wears. Now that Brady is back, and so is his aerial attack, and now that he has 2 active healthy tight ends, and none are incarcerated, that causes such lopsided mismatches. The ground game is going to become obsolete for the Patriots as a result. As a matter of fact, this might be the trend for the former Oregon standout for the remainder of the season, as his numbers will continue to decline and his carries and fantasy points will reduce as well. If you can, perhaps work out a trade for him, as this may be a desperate move for someone who needs a tailback, and in doing so with Blunt is highly recommended. Well, that's going to do it for me on this segment of Your Fantasy Fulfilled. I'm your homie, LaTasha Miles, aka Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess. Again, a major shout out to my fellow Winston-Salem State Rams as I'm dressed in my red and black. It was amazing to see so many of you guys yesterday at homecoming. And again, to those in the DMV area, see, I switched it up for y'all. I got a little bit dramatic today with my hair. You know, if you're in the DMV area, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, please make sure you tune in to Good Morning Washington live between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be discussing my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, the ultimate survival guide for relationships and households during football season. You know, giving you some tips out of that. And get your copies right now on CreateSpace.com and Amazon.com. I'll also be discussing WTF2, where women talk football too, and some of the other brands that I'm working on. And I'll even be fortunate enough to enter the Redskins Den to discuss the recap of the bitter divisional matchup between the Redskins and the Eagles. All right, no doubt. My God, I thank you. This is absolutely awesome. I just have to pinch myself. I'm just in total disbelief and awe. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is SheSPN The Network, and continue to stay tuned. Thanks again so much, and we'll catch you the next time, and I'm out. What's going on, good people? It's your girl again, LaTasha Miles, aka Joan Madden, the Gridiron Goddess. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @she_SPN and at Facebook at LaTasha Joan Madden Miles. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is SheSPN The Network. Hey, I'm kind of a big deal. You know, I'm a little bit cute, got some beauty, got some brains. That way on that channel, you'll be able to see the interviews that I've done, some of the famous people that I worked with, the projects I worked on, things of that nature. And don't forget to log on to CreateSpace.com and Amazon.com and get your copies of my book, When Football Season Turns You Into His Side Chick, the ultimate survival guide for relationships and households during football season. I appreciate your support. And hey, I gotta run. They're over here calling me on the other line. I gotta manage another fantasy football league. I'm out.